Hello, Libra, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Well, we've got cards flying out already. We'll put those back in there since there was a couple. Anyway, welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot, and thank you so much for joining me here today. And I hope you're having a great day. Seems my cards are very excited to get started since you guys are my first reading of the day. Anyway, this will be your weekly reading for the week of June 22nd through the 28th. And during that time, we will have a waning crescent moon. And a waning crescent is a really good time for surrender, rest, and healing. A good time to just let go, rest, kind of think about things that you've just been through, do a little bit of evaluation, and then rest. And we're going to get ready for a new cycle. We've got the new moon that comes in for us on the 25th or 26th, depending on where you are. And of course, that's a time for a fresh start, new beginnings, a good time to try new things, start new projects, or make new decisions, that sort of thing. So it is fast approaching this week. Keep those moon energies in mind. This will be an intuitive general reading for the energies that you may or may not encounter, Libra. So of course, please take what resonates and leave what doesn't for someone else. And your overall message for this reading: communication is key. Okay, let's see what the Libra Collective has going on. I'm going to grab a drink. I feel like I've been very quiet today. So I'm speaking to you guys, and just my house has been very quiet, and I haven't really been saying a lot. Usually I'll sing a little bit in the morning or have people around to talk to, but it's been a very, very quiet day, which is fine. I like a day like that every once in a while. Libra, since my readings are free to you, all that I ask in return is that you hit that subscribe button down there. It really helps my channel. It helps with the algorithm and just pushing the videos out. So it's super easy for you to do, and I would really appreciate if you could help me out doing that. So I will give you just a moment right now to do that while I'm shuffling up these tarot cards. Thank you so much. And if you've been a subscriber, thank you so much for coming back and helping me build a community here. I see you and I appreciate you. All right, and also while I'm shuffling, my weekly reminder is that you get out in nature this week. Take a walk in the woods, find a park or just somewhere that has a beautiful view. Or if you're near water, if you're lucky enough to be near water, near the ocean, go listen to those waves, of the ocean, or maybe even a lake or the trickling of a creek. But, just get yourself out in nature a little bit. And, sometimes we forget to do that. We're so connected to these devices and everything's so much in the digital realm, but I will tell you, it feels so good. I spend more time in nature, of course, in the summer here. And, I'm out there listening to birds and I have a backyard that I adore spending time in. All the little animals, the rabbits and chipmunks and squirrels, and they're entertaining. So anyway, just my reminder for you this week is to get out in nature, just observe or close your eyes, connect, and just really enjoy it. So all right, Libra, June 22nd through the 28th. Communication is key. Let's see what you guys have going on this week. All right, look at you go. Present energy, the Magician. So, of course, here we are at this new moon. It's a really good time for new starts, and that the Magician is the perfect card for that, because the Magician asks you, how do you want to move forward? What is it that you want to accomplish either in this next cycle, or, maybe you can even stretch that timeline out. What kind of goals are you trying to do for the next, coming months, coming years? And what are those things? Every once in a while, we do need to get in those evaluation modes and say, what worked for me in the past, and what do I not want to do? What's not serving me, and what do I want to get rid of? So the Magician is here to kind of force you to ask those questions of yourself so that you can move forward. Your current situation is the Two of Pentacles. So it looks like you're spending some time kind of juggling things. This seems to be in the material world with these pentacles, that, you're juggling money around, or you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, or you're juggling your time as you try to make money and try to make your way through the material world. So, maybe the Magician is asking, do you want to continue that juggle, or do you want to do something that has you, look at the water in the back of this card. It's a little chaotic. Do you want to find ways to to settle that chaos down a little bit? And if it's in the material realm, and I mean, let's say it's money, let's say that you really work on a budget, maybe you do feel like you're kind of juggling your money. Well, look around. What are ways that you can do, look around to accomplish this month of maybe cutting things out so that you're not spending money on certain things, or you're tightening up that budget a little bit. There's always ways to take this chaos and turn it into a calmer sea. So, that might be something that you might want to be focusing on here in the next few weeks. At the root of your situation is, yeah, there's something you're done with. So, and maybe it's just intellectually you're done doing this. You may be looking back on the past few months and thinking, I'm just exhausted. And wow, is that not a card of that? Just you're just done, exhausted, sick of it. This is the air energy. So this is kind of in your head that you're done. You're just done. I'm done juggling life, the money, the stuff. Okay. So, the reason that's being presented to you is so that you can come up with ways to make that, again, like calmer water, so that you are kind of sitting in a place where, you're enjoying the fruits of your labor rather than feeling like you just always got some ball in the air and you just can't quite get it together, right? In your recent past, is a little feeling, a little bit of satisfaction and self-indulgence too. And this self-indulgence could have, bring you to a place where you are kind of juggling money. Maybe you did some things that you couldn't really afford, or, put some things on a credit card that you shouldn't have, so you have to watch that. You have to watch, of course, we all do need to indulge occasionally, but if this is in your recent past and this is coming, it's like almost like you had some fun and now the bills come due and you've got to pay it, and it's very stressful. So keep that in mind too with your future. How is it that you indulge? And not that that's wrong, but maybe you find ways to curb those indulgences down to to maybe being less financial stress for you in the future. So something for you to think about, some food for thought there. What is on your mind this week? Oh yeah, look, enjoying the fruits of your labor here with the 9 of Pentacles. So it's on your mind to get there, and I feel like this is a goal. And, I feel you can get there so quickly. There's so many tools and resources out there now. Here we are in the age of the internet. I know when I was coming up, there was no one out there to give me, financial advice on how to just deal with things. And I mean, like, on the internet, like there is now. There's so many people out there. If you find someone you trust, I know there's some people out there that even I listen to, and it's, they're telling, giving you really, really good advice. So, don't, seek that out if that's something you need to learn or work on this week, while you're in this thing of new beginnings. Maybe it's a new beginning again of like having a new budget, really just living your life in a different way this month, so that when you arrive here next month, you're like, oh, I actually do feel better. And I do have things a little bit under control and I'm able to manage them. What is just ahead of you is, look, oh, the Page of Pentacles. So this is why I love tarot. I do. It makes me laugh because it's like, well, of course, that's the next card. Anyway, ahead of you, ahead of you is the Page of Pentacles. Excuse me, let me grab a drink. Also, anytime I get choked up like that, make sure you're speaking up. There might be someone else around you that's involved in this situation. Let me grab another drink. And for some of you, that someone is going to be your boss, that you need to say, hey, it's time for a raise. A lot of times in this day and age, you don't know how to speak up or say those types of things, but you just need to be direct, and it's kind of expected. So if that, and also if that's another thing that you just feel like you're so timid. I used to be very timid when I was young, asking for that sort of thing. I learned how to get over that, and kind of to understand what your own value and worth is, and make sure that you're being compensated for that. So because the Page of Pentacles is about a new path, and this is a new path in the Pentacles, could be a new path in money. So, for some of you, communication will be to your boss. It'll be, hey, the world has gotten more expensive lately. I'm kind of struggling a little bit here, and I need more money for what I do for you. Or maybe if that's not the case, it might be time to look around for a new job that does, that does compensate you more. But anyway, that's in your future this week is a new path. And this could be about making that budget, doing things in a new way financially. Because what's on your mind is you don't want to be juggling. you want to be enjoying the fruits of your labor. You're thinking, why am I working so hard to feel like I'm spinning my wheels like this? Well, it's because you're either not asking for what you're worth, or you're spending money on things that you shouldn't be. You're kind of self-indulging a little bit. So nothing has been, that's just very clear the way these cards are coming out, Libra. All right, what is in your advice position is the Five of Swords. Okay, very interesting. So the Five of Swords is typically winning through deceit or underhanded tactics, and I'm certainly not recommending that, but I do think that, because this is air energy, it seems like things need to be said, and this could be, we're talking about communication is key. Maybe things do need to be said, at your place of employment, things that are uncomfortable to say. And I'm not saying to be deceitful or underhanded. I'm actually saying to be very direct about that. And it could be also that things need to be said, just like within your family realm or your partnership, is like, hey, we spend too much money on this thing, and let's not do that this month. Let's cut that back, and pay that bill from that vacation we went on. So um I feel like sometimes with this card, it's that you're saying things that are very real. You're throwing down these swords of communications. People might not be happy to hear what you have to say, and you might actually be holding back. You've got a couple of swords here that you're still holding on to. It's like, I've laid the truth down, and I've actually held some things back that maybe should be said. So, I do see this card that way. And it just tells me that you need to say the things that are uncomfortable, even though feelings might get hurt, even though people may not be happy to hear those things, but it is time to speak up. What is beyond your control this week is the Empress. So, the Empress is, of course, our card of, creativity. Here she sits atop her symbol of Venus, and she's definitely the card of pregnancy. Maybe it's beyond your control. For some of you, it'll be beyond your control that a pregnancy occurs at this time, and it seems highly inconvenient in your financial situation, but that's okay. It all works out. But for some of you, of course, this doesn't always have to be a card of actual physical pregnancy, but it is a card of kind of giving birth to a long-term project, like a budget. So this thing that we're talking about here, it might take you, when you lay out a financial plan, it takes months and months for things to come to fruition. It's not just going to happen overnight. So it is kind of like a pregnancy. It's going to take months, for you to not only, I mean, first for you to come up with the plan, that doesn't take too long, but it's enacting that plan, and it's having the discipline to stick with that plan, and just, just really reminding yourself. So, when you're writing out that plan, a good thing to do is to really just maybe the top 5 reasons that you want to get yourself in financial shape, and keep those reasons handy. Keep those, if you have to put it on a post-it note and put it on your mirror, it's the first thing you see every morning, or the first thing you see when you wake up in the morning, is that's the reasons you're making these changes. So it gets easier, but I do see it's beyond your control to kind of give birth to a new plan. For some of you, again, it may be actual pregnancy, and babies never seem to come at a convenient time, but I guarantee you it all does seem to work out in the big plan. What is your secret desire, or what you're trying to avoid, is the Tower. Of course, you're trying to avoid, again, this is why I love tarot. Of course, I hope this is nobody's secret desire is to have a big disruption, but I do feel like you are definitely trying to avoid, like you almost see it coming and you're trying to avoid it. You see the disruption coming. You see that you're kind of headed down a path that is going to be disruptive if you do not get a handle on it right now. The cards cannot be more clear on this, Libra. It's just uncanny how this reading is coming out for this. In your outcome position is the World. So look at you. If you take control, get a handle, we're going to avoid this big disruption, come up with a plan that might take months for you to implement, but in the end, look, perfect balance. The world is your oyster. This is dreams materialize. This is, if the magician here is asking you, what do you want, there's your answer right there. You want to live in perfect balance, harmony, where things are just awesome. I mean, everything around the World card is about balance and harmony and fulfillment. It's about, just perfection. It's about being very tranquil and relaxed, in just your life, and you're in the way that you're living your everyday life. So that is a beautiful, beautiful outcome there. What is hidden for me this week at the bottom of the deck is partnership. Interesting also. So this might be, again, where this communication comes in. And is this your boss that you need to talk to? Is this your partner that you need to talk to? Is it just someone that's kind of involved in your financial life also, that also has an effect on what your financial world is, whoever that person might be for you. So and that's kind of missing for you this week. And that's probably why communication is key. There's two people in this card as well. That's the second two. We've got a couple of twos here coming out. You may want to look up angel number 22, see if that makes any sense for you this week. But it's hidden from you to be coming together in harmonious partnership. So that might be this card here, this Five of Swords, and why things need to be, there's two people in the back of that card too. Things that need to be said that are uncomfortable or just not fun to say. It's not fun to tell your partner, hey, we can't do this fun thing that we do all the time. We have to cut back on that. So, but sometimes you just have to adult and make sure that those things are done. Let's get some final messages here from the Soul Oracle deck, Libra. Final message as I watch you guys cut back on your coffees, and sometimes it's just the little things. Is it really worth it to have financial juggling? Not really. Not really. You can make coffee at home. It's fine. It's fine and probably more delicious. All right, Libra. Rejuvenate. So, how do you rejuvenate yourself? Probably not with material things. My advice to you this week too is to get out into nature. Here's the fun thing about nature and being in it is it's totally free. It's free to go on a hike. It's free to go hang out at a park. It's free to go sit on the beach. So, find those ways to rejuvenate that aren't stressing you financially. Laugh at your demons. And this could be, those demons that again want you to drive through and get that $5 coffee when it's completely unnecessary, or do any of those things that are very self-indulgent, but definitely unnecessary, especially if it's kind of putting a strain on you financially. So, Libra, the cards can't be more clear in this reading. Sometimes readings are just kind of fuzzy. It's very hard to tell, but I feel like the way this reading came out, there is nothing more to be said. You need to make a plan. You need to stick to that plan. You are done. You're done. The only way to get from the frustration of just being like, ugh, I just can't take another day of this, and the happiness of this world card is definitely forming the plan, the long-term plan. You've got to do it. So I wish you the most of luck with this, Libra. I think you can come up with a plan this week. You just got to do it. You got to do it, and you got to stick to it, whatever ways it takes to motivate yourself. Laugh at your demons. Don't be too hard on yourself that you have to do it. We've all kind of been there. We've all looked around and thought, oh, I'm spending way too much money on X, Y, and Z. You need to suck it in a little bit. So reel it in, Libra. You can do it. Anyway, Libra, I really do appreciate your time here with me today. I do hope there was something that you can take away and use in your life. If you're comfortable sharing, please leave me a comment. Let me know, what are your demons? What are your indulgences? Share with the other Libras that are watching this video. You guys may have some things in common and some tricks and tips for each other, to help overcome those sorts of things. But anyway, I do post readings every week, so feel free to come back next week and we'll see if this continues or if we're just onto a completely another energy as you've made your plan and you're just enacting your plan. Maybe there's other things that come along with this next week. So also, if you like my reading style, of course, please like and subscribe. It really does help my channel, but most importantly, it'll help you find me next week. So thanks so much, Libra. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.